You're listening to the Hunt Suburbia podcast. I'm your host, Pat Guyette. Big bucks I've been dreaming often, every night till I'm in a coffin. Vermont woods to the burbs of Boston, I'm looking for a tree to get lost in. Crisp mornings, little dust in the snow. Quality time, just me and my bow. Fall evenings, I know just where to go for some quality times for me and my bow. It's just me and my bow. This episode is brought to you by Heron Hill Winery. Go to heronhill.com, make sure that they deliver to your state, and use code HS5 at checkout for an additional 5%. All right, this episode we get to interview myself. Yeah, I finally got a deer. Thank God. It's been a long season, a lot of persistence. I got a deer, a nice 9-pointer. I get to tell that story. Kevin does a little bit of the interviewing, a little bit of the moderating, and we also invited on Kevin's other buddy, Pat, who I just met. So 2 Pats, 2 9-pointers, and Pat also, one-upped me and got another nice 8-pointer after his 9, but he gets to tell his stories. 3 nice Massachusetts bucks down in 3 days. We hope you guys enjoy this one. All right, we're live with another episode of Hunt Suburbia. I'm joined by another Pat. Pat, what's your last name?
Trainor.
Pat Trainor. And Kevin Poulos again. Thanks, Kevin, for having us over. We're in Kevin's man cave, looking at all his bucks again. Dude, this week, Pat and I both got some bucks. Kevin, you want to set it up because you're the link. You're the link here.
Yeah, sure. And you get to be on the hot seat now. We get to switch roles here.
Yeah, Kevin's gonna do the interviewing, kind of.
Yeah. So this week was quite a week for the two of you. I think the first call I got was from Pat over here. He called me. What day was that? Tuesday?
That was Monday, the 16th, I believe.
Yeah, it was okay. So it was Monday, and I wasn't hunting that afternoon because I got stuck on math duty with my son, and I saw the phone ring at 2:30. I think it was. I said, no, he didn't shoot one already. I didn't even know where he was. I didn't even know. Little did I know he was right down the street. He picked up the phone as soon as I heard the tone of his voice and the way he was breathing. I was like, no, he did not just shoot one. He's like, yeah, I got a good one. Just called it in. Yep. He's like, he came out. He's a good one. I think I made a good hit.
Oh, you called that one in too. We're just talking calling.
Yeah. So I get bored.
And before this though, like that was your best buck, right? Like, have you ever killed a big buck before that?
Never.
Yeah. So they're just like me going into this year.
Yeah.
Just starting to get more serious into bow hunting and searching for a big one.
Yeah. So last year, I don't usually gun hunt at all. Went out with a couple buddies to, I guess, like 2 miles from where I got the 9-point. Went for a little push with the shotguns, and I kicked up. I mean, he must have been 150s, 160s, a monster. Rushed the shot, tracked him. He ended up crossing the river, going onto an island. Didn't recover him. So that obviously sucked.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was my shot at the big buck up until, this year. They're not monsters, but I say shoot what makes you happy, so.
And that one that you shot last year, we think was the one I had on trail camera.
Yeah.
One day when we were in there, it was the day I checked my trail camera, was chasing a doe in that same field. Or
yeah,
he was. Call it.
So I got
he was big.
I got within 15 feet of him. I kicked him right out of his bed and caught me off guard. Not one of these big woods trackers like the guys you have on here. That like this is normal for them. This is all new to me. So I was like, here we go. I guess.
You had to take a running shot, right?
Yeah. It was. I rushed everything about it, and live and learn from it, I guess. So
you got 2 shots on him, didn't you? Did you?
Yeah. So it was bizarre. So there was a bunch of us in there. It sounded like the Alamo at one point. It was bad. So I shoot him. I hit him low. It kind of looked like I got him in like the neck area, and then he bedded down. We back out a little bit. Then I go back in. I'm like, I'm gonna see for blood. Kick him up again. And he goes and he starts crossing a little creek that was frozen over. I start going. He was falling through the ice. I'm like, all right, he's going slow right now. Pounded his shoulder. He dropped, made it up the ridge, and I tracked him geez, I think it was like 400 yards before he crossed the river. I'm like, he's gonna make it. If he did, I don't know.
So no one's got pictures of him again this year, or was that last year, or was it years ago?
That was last year.
That was last year, yeah. No pictures of him. I didn't have a camera out there this year.
I had 2 cameras out there this year, and but one was not working for quite a period of time. Another one got stolen.
Naturally, good old public land.
Yeah, and there's some other guys hunting in there. And actually, that's going to lead up to his second deer. He can talk about later how he ended up shooting the second deer the other day.
Yeah.
But, why don't you go ahead and kind of talk about your the one you shot on Monday, and kind of what led you to go there and.
Yeah, so this spot was I hadn't hunted it since 2017. I used to live in the area, so it was a little more convenient. My extended family owns a property back there. So I wasn't even going to hunt that afternoon either. It was blowing like 20, 25 miles per hour. It was you couldn't hear anything, but I was like, whatever, just give it a shot. Didn't really know where to go. And actually my girlfriend was like, you always talk about this spot, why don't you just go there? I was like, fine, I guess I'll go, I got in there late. I wasn't even up in the tree till 1:45, and mind you, before that, I'm walking around trying to find, whatever tree, not being quiet.
Yep.
I got up there in the saddle and was there for an hour. But before going up in the tree, I put down some of the backyard scents, just the doe scrape, just a little bit.
Yep.
I didn't really overload the area. Sat there for like 45 minutes, then used the extinguisher call like we were talking about. Got on gave a couple doe bleats, and then kind of just hanging tight. I was up on a ridge here. I had power lines behind me. And then down below was, what'd you call it, like a dried up.
Yeah, it's like a dried up swamp almost.
Yeah, it's always been like that. Reason I set up there is 3 years ago, I had this 10 on there. I mean, he was a slob. Never saw him, but I had him on video, like, in front of the camera hitting the scrape, butt stretching. I'm like, all right, he's bedded there for a reason.
Yeah.
2019, I went back there, found a match set of sheds right in the bed. So I kind of knew.
That's pretty nice.
Yeah, I'm like, all right, so they like this area for a reason. It was a west wind, so it was right in my face. It was perfect. So I kind of set up. Like I said, I gave a couple doe bleats. 10 minutes later, I'm looking. There's some, like, little pines that are growing, and see a rat coming up. Like, all right, neat. I'm like, oh, okay, he's a pretty
super neat.
Pretty hefty, yeah. And I mean, he just came straight up where I made, like I said, that little mock scrape, put the backyard scents out. He came straight up, kind of took his time a little bit, starts cutting left, and like all deer do,
Yep.
they stand behind a tree with their vitals.
Yeah, I know.
So I'm drawing back on this guy. Everyone says it feels like an hour. Felt like an hour. He eventually starts stepping up a little bit, and I had him at like 20 yards. Released the arrow. I hit him back a little bit, but I still got both lungs. And then called Kevin. We tracked him about 80 yards back from where he was coming up out of. But as we're going down there, all these fresh trees were all rubbed up. Then I look at his rack, and he's got, all the shavings right there. So he was just making his way straight up. Yeah.
Yep.
But as we're going down to that buck, my heart sank because it's not really a bull, but the dried up swamp on the other side is kind of like a ridge, kind of where I found those that match set. And I look up on the ridge and I see another nice buck just standing there. I don't know if he was with a doe or another little buck, I'm not sure. But he looked at us and he just boogied.
Wow.
And I was like, well, that's our buck.
He goes, he's right there. He says to me, we're walking up, and I kept saying to him, we're looking at this blood trail, and I'm like, oh, it's going to be right over the hill. He's going to be dead right there. You got him. This is the great. He's going to be right there. And he says to me, oh, crap. There he is. And I'm like, where? And I'm looking down at the ground looking for a white belly. He's like, right there. He's standing right there. I'm like, what? And I'm in disbelief because, no, he's dead. I'm thinking that blood trail says he's dead. He says he's right there, and I can't see him. He goes, he's standing right there with another deer. And then I see them take off.
Yeah, but then I looked back at you, and you kind of gave it away because you had his phone out and the video camera. So I'm like, all right, something's up.
I told him I wouldn't tell him when I saw it.
Yeah, and then I looked another, 15 yards. He's piled up right in front there.
So that was just another buck that's in the area?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
That property, I don't know what it is, but every year there's just big deer. I have family, and they invite, everybody and their brother, and they they gun hunt that like you wouldn't believe. Can't be mad at them. I mean, it's their property. I'm just lucky enough to have permission to hunt there. It's actually funny where that deer died is about 30 yards from the trail that I met Kevin on about 5 years prior.
So it's funny.
Why don't you guys tell your origin story here?
Yeah. So I don't know. It was like a few years ago. When I moved here, I was hunting down below on the power lines, which is actually in woods behind my house. And I had shot one big deer there, and then seemed like the deer were always leaving. I'd get them on camera and then they'd be gone once the season started, even without me putting any pressure on them. I've always wanted to go up across the street. I've never gone up there. I've never even walked up there. So I said, I'm gonna just pull my stand and I'll go in there and find some place. There's no posted signs or anything. I said I'll just see if I can find a spot. And so I was walking on this trail. I put my sticks and my stand down, and I actually walked down into the spot where his deer came from and where it pretty much died that he's talking about. And it's a small area. It's not like it's big or anything. But it looked kind of thick. There were some rubs there. I remember looking there and saying, gee, yeah, this is where I want to put a stand. This is what I want to put a stand. So I turned around and I started walking back up to this path, and then I hear a four-wheeler coming, and I was like, oh, God, here we go. And I see the four-wheeler coming down, and I'm like, am I on like a trail camera or something? And somebody like see me walking here. I'm not supposed to be here. And he comes down and he pulls up. And I think you were just going down to pull a stand or something, weren't you? I can't even remember what you were doing. But
honestly, I think I was just going for a cruise.
Yeah, maybe for a ride.
Yeah, I had no intentions, really.
And he pulls down the path. Again, we're on this path we're talking about is right where he basically shot, just below where he shot the deer and where the deer crossed. It was just a very weird coincidence. And I remember when he pulled up, he says, he's like, oh, hey, you hunting here? And I just said, oh, I'm just looking. And he's really nice. He's really cool about it because I was waiting, for this whole big thing to happen. And he's like, oh, it's my family land, and it's not posted or anything, but a bunch of them hunt it. And then he was like in mid-sentence, he's like, do you have a YouTube page?
I realized I was with a celebrity, It was awesome.
No, but he's like, I was like, oh, yeah. And I knew right there, I'm like, okay, cool. We're going to have a good conversation. I could care less if I had a hunt there. I just didn't want to get yelled at. I didn't want to get in an argument.
Yeah, I'm that nerd that sits there in bed at night watching his videos on YouTube.
It's funny. Like, that's how, when I first met Kevin, too, it's like, yeah, dude, I watched all your videos.
Yep.
Yeah.
But, that was really cool. And then, of course, we just started trading. And it showed, sure enough, he's got the same 10 on camera that I had down there below the street that off the power lines. And, we just started talking about deer and all the stuff and blah, 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 and changed phone numbers. I just think it just was so funny that it was right in that spot. I mean, I'm telling you, it's like right there. I just thought that was so funny.
Yep. And then poetic justice that you go help him retrieve it and he gets his first big buck.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
So it was a 9-pointer.
9-pointer, yeah.
And how much did it weigh? Did you weigh it?
Yeah, so he was 170 dressed.
Yeah, that's a beautiful buck.
Yeah, it was a nice deer.
Beautiful deer, and you're getting it mounted.
I am, yep.
Yep.
And then, so why don't we jump now to your deer?
Yeah, 16 hours later.
About 16 hours later.
Yeah, because I texted Kevin after I got mine too, and he was like, I can't believe both my Pat friends, I both wanted to get big bucks this year, both shot 9-pointers within 16 hours of each other.
He had that proud father moment.
Oh no, I was pumped. I was like, I was texting my wife. I'm like, Pat. I go, Pat got a deer. Just shot a big buck. Another one, she says. I'm like, no, other Pat.
Yeah, Pat number 2. Yeah, so I mean, I've had a lot of sits this year, man. I've put a lot of effort into it.
You sure have, and you've seen a lot of deer.
Oh my God, I think I've seen 80 deer.
Yeah, you've seen a ton.
Maybe a little more. So I'm first to admit I've been hunting a lot, and I told myself this year I want to shoot. I've had opportunities at some real small deer, and year and a half year olds, and just teasing me 15 yards away broadside, and I wanted to wait for a good one this year, and I've going into this spot. It's pretty much the same spot I've been hunting all year. I had big plans. I scouted out 4 or 5 different spots, and my number 1 spot ended up can't really hunt in there, so I was excited about that spot, but I had to kind of audible over to this one. And I went in there real early with my dad, and we saw, 30 or 40 scrapes in there in October, and it was just like ripped up.
I remember you telling me that. It was really early.
Yeah, you couldn't walk 10 feet in some places, and every single tree that had a licking branch, at the right height was just lit up. So my dad said it's the most buck activity he ever seen, and buck sign he'd ever seen. And it was for me too. And I checked my cameras. I had, I think, 14 different bucks in there. And, nothing huge. There was nothing really huge on those cameras until this big 9-pointer, which I was just telling you guys, snuck up on me yesterday morning, or maybe it was 2 days ago now. He was the only big buck in there for a long time. But anyways, the place I couldn't hunt that I was excited to hunt, and I had all these I had 2 big 8-pointers in there and a nice 9-pointer in there all summer, watched them grow. And, ended up being this 9-pointer that I shot. I met him the first time I met him. I was riding my bike. In the summer, I got a bad lower back, and riding my bike, if I could do 10 miles, it felt real good. So I was going around in the evenings. I was riding my bike around, just getting exercise and also doubling us a little bit of scouting time, to seeing where I was seeing deer. And I was going into these, in and out of these fields and these trails that are cut in these particular spots. And I came around a corner, and this buck that I ended up getting was standing there like from here to the wall. He was like 10 feet away, and he was feeding. Wow. I just turned a corner, and the bikes are pretty silent when you're on your bike and you're going through a field.
Yeah.
Right.
And I like slammed on the brakes and like looked at him. I was like, holy shit. It was like July, so he only had 3 points on one side and 2 on the other. And I could tell even then, one side curved in more. The other one went out wide, and one kind of curved in.
Oh, yeah, I noticed that on
more.
your deer and that frontal shot you sent
Yep.
me, yeah.
Yep, and I just remember that, when I saw him in July in that field, I was like, wow, it's pretty big rack already for July, but it was kind of neat how one side was curving in more than the other. So anyway, I met him, and then a few Sundays ago, right after the snow, we got all that snow, I went back into that spot I can't hunt. I still got a camera in there, and pulled the camera. And while I went in there, I jumped this buck. He was bedded down with a doe. I think it was November 1st. Right, it was the Sunday after the snow. This bucket that I ended up killing, I jumped him in there. He was bedded with a doe. So it reminded me of like when you said you jumped him 15 feet away. This deer I got right up to him, and he bounded up out of his bed, and I could see the rack that curved in more, and then the one that went out wider, and he looked huge. Running away, they always look huge.
Yeah.
And he split. The doe went left, he went right, and I went and got my camera. As I was checking the card in my camera, he kind of came back posturing up, but keeping this medium-sized evergreen tree in between us. And I could see him coming back and going like this through the tree at me. And I was just checking my camera. And it was cool. It was a cool experience. I went and looked at his track after. I wanted to see how big his track was because there was snow, and looked like a nice big track. And then I retrieved the camera, had all kinds of buck activity on that camera, and I'm going to post some on my Instagram page because I got some cool videos of him chasing does through there.
Oh, you did?
In the snow. Yeah, the buck that I killed. Wow. He was just nose right on a doe's ass, chasing him around that same evergreen tree that he was looking at me at.
It's crazy that you got so much video and in different areas.
Yeah, and in a short amount of time, I have all these cool experiences with this buck.
Yeah,
which was pretty cool.
Means a lot more than when you see it for the first time. You definitely have that connection to it. That's cool. I couldn't believe. Not that I was hunting too far away from that where I ended up killing him, but it seems like it was a long ways away, and it was a good distance. It's probably a mile away from there. Yeah. But I wasn't expecting to see him. I never had got him on those cameras over in that spot that I was hunting. Only in this place where I had jumped him. So I just wasn't expecting him at all. I wasn't hunting him over there. I didn't think I would ever have a shot at that buck. But I'm sitting there, and it's a cold day, and I just get up I had left the climber from the night before.
I had seen all kinds of bucks pushing does the day before through there, but they were out and 65, 70 yards away, but pushing does, like flying pushing does, and they were just bad out of hell running through there. I saw a nice big 8-pointer that was the number 2 buck I had in that area, but he was 65 yards out. Tried to call him back in, but obviously it's futile when they're chasing.
Yeah.
So I left the climber in. It's always really, if you take a climber into the woods, it's so nice if you go in the night before and then you're like, I'm going to leave it and I'm going to come back in the morning.
Yeah.
I don't have to carry it in.
Yeah.
So I did that. I went back in. I got in there, 30 minutes before shooting light. I'm up in the tree. I'm just ready to go. 5 minutes before shooting light, I start hearing the grunting behind me. And like we were talking about, dude, it sounds nothing like our extinguisher calls.
Yeah.
They're just like, I don't know how you can't imitate it.
It is strange.
It's almost easier to do with your mouth. And I hear grunting, and I'm like, holy shit, man, this is gonna happen right at shooting light. And slowly making his way in. Like you said, with your buck, you found out he was making a rub line on the way in.
Yep.
My buck was laying down scrapes. And I went back and backtracked after it was all done. I saw he had been making. That's why he was taking his time to come in. He was laying down scrapes, and I think when I first saw him, it was about 1 minute before shooting light, and he was back behind my stand, and making a scrape, slowly coming in. I couldn't tell he was making a scrape then. He stops. Now it's like 4 minutes later. He finally gets into within 30 yards into one of my windows there. And I was going to wait for him because he was coming perfect to get into like my beautiful open 20 yards, nothing to worry about window. But he stayed in that spot and I couldn't tell why. I couldn't tell what he was doing.
Right.
But he stayed there for long enough. I was like, all right, this is now or never. I'm just in these 30 yards and put the 30-yard pin on him. And I got the sound. I was recording, but I didn't have my phone aimed at it, but I got the sound, and you hear him, running away. At first, I thought I missed him. I thought I just completely missed him because it didn't sound like I hit a deer. It didn't, it just sounded like I hit a tree or the ground. I mean, I was like, fuck, did I miss another deer? Because I've missed 2 this year. And I didn't think that for too long because then, 15 seconds later, I heard the death. I was watching him go. I heard the death crash. I saw him on the ground kicking up, and I see his white belly, and he was just laying there dead. And so I had no anxiety. I stayed in the stand till like 7. I think it was like 6:15 when I shot, and I ended up staying in the stand till 7, just like because I know there's more bucks. So that's another thing. He's laying there dead. 5 minutes later, another buck comes down off the hill, right to his blood trail, and starts smelling his blood trail, and then nose right up the blood, goes all the way to where he dies, sniffs his dead body, and
Didn't push him around or anything, though.
No, didn't push him around, just kind of smelled him, and then went, what's going on? And that's when I brought out a rattle. I wasn't going to shoot this buck. He was like a little 6-pointer or something. I brought out the rattle bag to see if I could like get his attention to come down. And he did. He turned around and looked right at me and then slowly made his way down. I got some good footage of him getting real close. But, yeah, I mean, that place had so many bucks. I didn't want to, even though he was dead, I wanted to maybe see if I can get another one to come in before I got down. Ended up going down. I shot him right in a scrape. Found my arrow there. He made a bunch of scrapes, like I said, but I walked up to it. I still didn't know what it was. I knew it was a big buck. It was, I shot 5 minutes after legal shooting light. You can't see great at that point. I just saw a big high rack, and I was like, man, this could be that really big 9-pointer. I don't know. It could be a 6-pointer, and I just saw, a good side or something.
Right.
And I walk up, and I saw the 5, and I knew instantly it was that buck from the first spot that I can't hunt, and I just couldn't believe it. And I'm really, really excited, really happy with that deer. And if I don't get another deer this year, I mean...
Yeah, no, that was a great deer. That's what you hope for.
Yeah, I mean, all summer when I saw the 9-pointer on, I was like, that's my number one deer right now, until I saw some bigger ones on cameras. But I'm super excited. All right, here's a little pro tip for you guys, and this is probably the most important tip that I can give you as a hunter. Whether you're a new hunter or you're a veteran hunter, this is something that is going to go a long, long way into helping you kill deer. So make sure you're paying attention, okay? What you have to do is make sure that your wives and your girlfriends are happy during hunting season. I mean, you should make sure that they're happy all year long, but especially during hunting season, make sure that they're happy. So butter them up a little bit extra. What I've always found that works really well is buying her some wine. So I buy a case of wine from Heron Hill Winery at the beginning of the season, and if I get through it, which we usually do somewhere around, middle November, I'll re-up and I'll buy another case. Heron Hill Winery is out of the Finger Lakes in New York. One of my best friends is the vineyard manager there, so that's why I started supporting them, but I keep coming back because I love their wine. The owner of the vineyard is a big-time hunter, and he makes some great red wines specifically that pair well with venison and game birds. My favorite is the Eclipse Red. It's a nice full-body red, and it goes great with any kind of venison. And their Game Bird Red is great with any kind of game birds, but, I mean, they've got tons of wines. Go check them out. And they have a special deal for Hunt Suburbia podcast listeners. That's you guys. If you want to keep supporting us, please support our sponsors. And there is not a better sponsor to go out and support than Heron Hill Winery. Go to heronhill.com and use code HS5 for an additional 5%. So what they got on there is if you buy 6 bottles or more, there's a volume discount where you get 10% off. So with HS5, you'll get an additional 5% off, which they don't give to anybody else, just you guys. And if you buy a full case, which is 12 bottles for all of you mathematicians out there, you'll get 15% off from their volume discount plus an additional 5%. So that's 20% off total using code HS5. And also, any purchases of 6 or more bottles, it's free shipping. So they're one of the only wineries that have free shipping out there, and they'll get it right to your doorstep in these COVID times. And, you can get it within a week of ordering it. And I really just can't tell you enough. Go out there, support Heron Hill Winery. That's heronhill.com, and use code HS5 so that we know that you're going there from listening to us, and you're going to go a long way to helping out this podcast. Heron Hill Winery, the official wine of hunters, and more importantly, their wives and girlfriends everywhere.
Yeah, no, it was a great day.
You and I were hunting when you texted me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think.
I was like, Pat just shot one. Like, I mean, it was like so early when you said that to me.
Yeah.
I'm like, I could just barely see.
Yeah, I was in the tree for.
We were hunting a spot
like
together, and I remember when you said I'm like looking at it, I'm like, geez, I can't even see all the way in the swamp yet. But yeah,
and we were actually just texting, and another thing I forgot on the way in that day, I walked over scrapes that were 6 feet long and 3 feet wide, just massive scrapes that were fresh, and I thought they were just a few hours fresh. I ended up looking at some of those. I had some cameras on some of those scrapes, and I looked at them, and they were actually the day before, so it was like 24 hours old or something.
Yeah.
But they were smoking fresh, it looked like, and they were huge. So I remember texting you when I got in.
Yeah.
It was like 6:05 or something a.m. And I'm like, man, on the way in, there were so many scrapes. There were so many fresh scrapes. It feels like a good morning. And then like a few minutes later, it was like, dude, I just shot one.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
That's awesome.
I was like, because I remember texting my wife. She's like, oh, you got another one? I'm like, no. I'm like, the other Pat, he shot one. I said, they both got a buck. And I remember coming home, I was like all pumped up. I'm like, I was excited because it is exciting when other people, for me anyways, it's when people get deer. It's pretty cool. It's all part of the, the whole experience and everything when you're hunting. And
it's like that dude that we both brought our bucks to get caped and butchered. He was telling me, he's like, I've shot some big deer. I mean, I've got 15 of them on the wall that are like 150 plus. And he's like, so do I really need another one? He's like, I just enjoy putting people on deer now. He really just enjoys, if there's somebody that's passionate about hunting and they want to get into it, he'll be like, I can get you into a tree that you'll see a 150 incher.
Was he telling you about that buck in his town that has totaled 2 cars in the past 2 weeks?
No.
Still alive, still kicking.
No
way.
way.
I guess it's just this tank that has
big
totaled
brute?
2 cars, and he knows the guys that hunt in the area, and he's like, what are you doing? Like, why is he not dead yet?
That's funny.
Crazy. That's
and
cool.
Speaking of that, he told me after he butchered, because I picked up my deer yesterday. He told me, he's like, oh, by the way, your buck had taken an arrow probably the year before. He was injured. Somebody shot him, and it didn't kill him. But I found a scar. Probably why his rack was,
I was gonna say
one side's a little bit more, a little different. And he goes, and also, because even before that, like when I first dropped it off, he was looking at it. He goes, "I think this deer might have been hit by a car before," because he could see something in it, and his hindquarters were a little bit different. And he only ended up weighing 140 pounds. He was skinny in the back, real big chest, real big neck, but he was just skinny butt on him, and not any fat on him. I mean, he'd been chasing. I have that video I'll show people of him chasing does, late October, early November. He'd been chasing for almost 20 days at this point, so he ran all his fat off. But yeah, he said, he took an arrow probably last year, and I think he was hit by a car as well.
They're tough animals.
Yeah.
People say that all the time.
I think you and I saw yours hanging up there. You and I hit ours in pretty much the same exact spot.
Yeah,
that was the other thing too. Yeah, almost the exact spot. Those two deer.
Was yours double long? Double long?
Yep. But it was back a little bit. It was kind of a tight spot, and I'm like kind of like yours. Like, now's my chance.
Yeah.
If not, he's gonna. I think he was gonna head straight to the power lines and cross up behind the houses there.
Yours didn't go far then.
No, he went by 70 yards.
70 yards, I'd say.
And I'd say the blood trail started
30 yards from the shop. Probably.
Yeah, 30, 40 yards, close to the trail.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Just before we got to the trail.
But the thing is, like, the whole filming, I don't have like the handy cam type deal or the arm. I'm klutzy. I know that I would ruin that. I'd bang my bow off at something like that. So my buddy from work, he's a Tacticam like pro staffer. He's like, I'll just lend you one for the season. So I gave him some Hawk sticks, and he gave me this for the season. So I just put it right in my stabilizer. I need to remember my card reader for future, because, like you say, I've heard you talk about it before. Your friends, where'd you shoot him at? Where'd he run down?
Yeah.
I was like, I shot him right here.
Yeah.
And find the arrow 10 feet to the left.
Yeah.
And I'm like, he went down here. He's like, you sure you didn't go over here?
Yeah.
And then I played back the Tacticam footage. I'm like, oh, I saw the impact. I saw exactly where he ran down.
I didn't know you got this one on film.
I got both on, yeah.
He's got both of them. We're actually right now they're downloading upstairs. So
really?
I'm gonna take. So I got tons of footage of both deer he got of us recovering it. And even one of them I filmed. I don't know. Actually, I didn't film it with the camera. I filmed it with my phone, but I might be able to use that of us when we were editing it out and stuff. I was giving friends instructional videos.
That's
some
awesome.
newbies. I'm holding the legs apart and I'm filming as he's explaining what he's doing.
He had his phone down in the chest cavity. He's like, you gotta get up there.
Yeah.
But
these are testicles.
Yeah. So he's got the footage, and then I have my recovery footage. So I'm gonna. Put that together and edit it, and I'll put it on my YouTube page for both kills. So
Great.
It should be pretty cool.
So Tagged Out Productions, make sure you guys, you know by now, go there and subscribe.
Yeah, we'll have both those kills on there.
Yeah. It's just awesome. And then, how many days after that? 2 days later, you got...
Day after you get yours. You get yours on Tuesday?
Yeah.
Yeah, so when you shot that deer, Kevin and I were hunting the same spot, and... I was kind of texting back and forth. There's a little creek that runs through it, and then the other side of the creek's all posted. So I'm sitting there. I already knew you got a deer. I'm like, all right, so things are starting to pick up. I got that one at 2:30 in the afternoon, I think is when I released the arrow. So I'm starting to see some more movement, and then I look across, and there's 2 bucks. Couldn't really see how big they were, but, they're sparring. Then I see a doe kind of going up. As I'm watching them, they kind of parted ways, went up into the private a little further. So I, hit the grunt tube a couple times. And then I hear behind me, I look, and there's an 8-point just coming out from where we walked in on.
Yeah.
And he kind of just moseyed up. Like, all right, so things are heating up. So the next morning, I saw that it was going to be like 20 degrees or something.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, perfect. Aside from where I got my first buck, that I don't have any private properties to hunt, so I mainly just focus on the public. So same town, so it's a river. Went to one side where him and I usually go. And I know guys hunt there, but, kind of stupid me thought they wouldn't be there that day. Pull in, and there's 2 trucks with 3 guys getting out, all with their bows. I'm like, all right, whatever. Started getting a little discouraged, and then I'm like, oh, wait a minute. I used to hunt the other side.
Yeah.
And so I went to the other side, but this time I was setting up in the tree, and it was like 6:40. Like, it was getting light out. That's what I like about the saddle is it's dead quiet. I mean, aside from the little... creaking of the sticks, it's really dead quiet. Came down the cart road. As I'm climbing up my tree, I look, and there's, I think it was like a little 5-point going up the cart road. I'm like, all right, perfect.
What time is this?
Like I probably saw him at 6:45. I don't know. I sent you the video. And then I'm sitting. It was a west-northwest wind, so I had the wind in my face. Behind me is a neighborhood, so I was probably. I mean, if I had my binoculars, could have seen people getting ready for work. So we set up there, and I'm kind of facing the river, and there's a kind of like a marsh area, and I think I shot this one at 8:10 or something. So around like 7:50, I see this doe like 100 yards out just screaming, and I'm like, well, that's not normal. So I see her. She starts hooking right, and I'm like, okay. She faces towards me. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna turn the Tacticam on. I'll at least get footage of whatever's chasing her. And she not only came across the cart road to me, she came right to the right of my stand or my saddle, and then I just hear mer 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 coming from the cart road. So she went behind me, readjust my Tacticam, and the 8's coming across. He had one thing on his mind.
Yeah.
And because I had my bow, I'm 6'3", 240. I'm not the smallest thing in a tree. And he came, and he stopped 5 yards from my saddle, and he's just watching the doe. He had her cornered on a ridge there, and he was just mert, 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 mert. And then I hear something behind me. So I look back, and there's a little spike coming in, trying to join in on the fun. So this buck, the 8, was under me for I think 8 minutes, have it all on the footage there. Drawing back on him, he was quartering away from me. I'm like, all right, he's going to turn broadside perfect. It's going to be like a 15-yard shot. It was, but he was just standing directly behind an oak tree. Perfect.
So he was right under your stand all that time? You couldn't shoot down on him, right?
Yeah, so I'm kind of new to the saddle thing, so I'm not, I'm not 100%.
Yeah.
I'd rather...
You got to make sure you mention, these were his first 2 saddle kills, both these bucks.
Like, I would rather not get a shot than injure a deer. That's just...
Right.
I know most hunters are like that, but I kind of pride myself on it. So he's standing there. He stands, peas right there, everything. That I'm looking over. The doe's still there. She's not going anywhere. And now he's definitely not because the spike's coming in. He looks at the spike a little bit. He's standing there. Every time he stopped, he was behind a tree, and I'm like, you got to be kidding me.
How do they know?
That's the thing. And then my rangefinder's from like 1908, so the thing hardly works. I didn't even care to use it. So I'm like, all right, he's out near 30, whatever. So I didn't adjust my pin. I kind of just adjusted my 20-yard.
Yep.
Because I have the Spot Hog Fast Eddy, so you got to kind of release the dial and twist it up and down the single pin.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of tedious, so I'm just like, all right, I'll aim a little high on this one. He stepped out, looked back at the spike, and I'm like, perfect. Sent it, and he started running back towards the cart road, and then you could tell he had one thing on his mind because he stopped and was like, nope, there's still a doe over there, and he started running back towards the doe.
Even though he was hit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was on the phone with you at the time because I'm not a patient guy. Call him. He's
So
like,
wait a
whatever.
minute. I have to interject. He calls me. I see the phone ringing. Now, I just settled down. I decided I was going to let my wife sleep in. I'm going to rest. I'll just get some rest. I won't go out hunting this morning. I've been hitting it like every day. I'd let my wife sleep in. Got my kid set up on for his remote learning. Went back downstairs. I literally laid down. Said, okay, I'm just going to sit here and relax.
It's going to be a lovely morning.
Phone rings. I'm like, I see him like, no way. No way he didn't just shoot another deer. I pick it up. He's like, yeah, I just shot one. I shot a good one. I'm like, really? I'm like, is he down? He's like, oh, hold on, wait a minute. Oh, no, here he comes. He's like, wait a minute, what?
Like that's how soon I called him. But,
and he's like, oh, he's down. No, that's what you said. He goes, he left. I don't know where he went. Oh, no, wait a minute. Here he comes. Here he comes. Oh, he's down. Yeah, I just watched him go down. I was like,
yeah.
Wait a minute.
Damn, dude, you were doing it live.
Well, it sucks being a mentor sometimes,
That's what I said. I said, wow, I got the friggin' play-by-play here.
Poor guy's trying to get some sleep, and I'm over there, but...
You're like, please tell me this is, like, far away so I can't come help you. You're like, no.
So...
Yeah, again, he's 5 minutes away at another spot.
But, who knows? The spike ended up running off with the doe. It could have been his lucky year. So I called him. He came out. I had already seen the deer, so I kind of walked up. Didn't find the arrow, nothing like that yet. Met him back out at the truck. We came in, and good thing... I saw where he went down because there was zero blood.
Zero. Perfect
Absolutely
shot.
Nothing.
Perfect shot. Got
double
some of the
long heart.
Double long right behind the shoulder.
Yeah.
Pass through. blood at the kill site. I mean, or I should say, where he died and everything, and not a drop of blood. We tried to backtrack. I found the arrow, right? Yeah, I found the arrow. I did find the arrow, and it was covered, but no blood trail from there. And then again, he only went like 30, 40 yards maybe.
Yeah, he probably piled up 50 yards from the tree.
There was zero blood trail leading up from anywhere. It was bizarre.
It's actually, I took a little bit of footage when I got down from my stand after shooting the 9-pointer too, and when I got up, it was easy because I was like, all right, at least I know he was making that scrape, so I'll start there.
Right.
You go to the scrape, and I was like, wait, where the hell's my arrow? It should be right here. And it was, it just was back a little further. And then I was like, what the hell? There's no blood here either. That was just like same first reaction. Then I saw a little bit just around when I found my arrow. There was a little bit around there, but still, where he ran, there wasn't really any blood. Like there wasn't. It was the same thing. I saw him fall, so I knew where he was.
Yeah.
But man.
Well, it seems like, and that same thing happened with my 8-point. The blood trail didn't start for like 40 yards, 50 yards maybe when they take off like that. But mine was a bit higher shot. His was more like it was like dead exactly where you want to hit. A little, in the middle, not high, not low.
Yep.
It's just, even though he didn't go far, it was odd that there was no blood at all.
Yeah.
Except right where he died, where he rolled over, and there was just some blood there, and obviously on the arrow, and that was it.
Yeah.
And he nailed both lungs and heart, and you would think they'd be spraying somewhere, but so luckily he saw it. So.
It's 2 beautiful bucks, man.
Yeah, I was definitely excited.
Did you weigh that one too?
Yeah, so he was I think he was 146, short body on him.
That was like mine. My same thing, 145.
Yep, and mine was 140.
Body.
Yeah, he looked pretty thin coming in. Like I feel like he's been going hard at it for a little bit. The first one I got, I mean he had the full rut neck. He was thick.
Did.
Yeah,
that first one
beefy.
had a huge neck on him. Huge neck.
So yeah, I think this guy was just running rampant for a few days.
Yeah, possibly.
Yeah.
Good deer though. 2 awesome deer. 3 awesome deer in 3 days.
And 4, you got a nice deer too. We've had a good season.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, you can't ask for more. I mean, I would say you have to have had the most entertaining season out of anybody that I think I've
seen
talked
a lot
to.
of stuff, and
You've seen a lot. You've got tons of trail. I mean, every day this guy is sending me trail cam pictures and videos of bucks making scrapes.
I went overboard on trail cams this year, but I was sitting home with COVID. The wife was pregnant for the first part of it, so it was like I got to get out of the house every once in a while, and I put up cameras, and I was, I'm still new to this area, so I wanted to, I told Kevin, this year, if I don't get a big one, it's like I'm learning the spots, and I'm dialing in for next year.
Right.
But I'm happy I got that one.
Yeah, you definitely.
I've seen
pretty
a
dialed
bobcat this year tossing a squirrel up in the air.
Yeah,
and playing with
I saw that on Boston Bowhunter. I didn't know it was your video. I'm like, this is wild. Then he told me about it.
Yep. And freaking, just started seeing coyotes. Oh, I didn't even tell you the other day. This was after I shot my buck. I went back to the same spot again because I left my stand in there because I dragged him out and I didn't have my climber on as I dragged it. So I left in the same tree. The next morning was really cold, so I went in. And that day I saw, I think, a spike horn, a 4-pointer, and maybe a 6-pointer, and the spike and the 4 were the ones that got real close. But I remember you saying that you had, your shitty arrow that you put on for a coyote or something. And I still had my bloody arrow, in the quiver, and I'm down to 3 arrows now and the bloody one. So I had 2 good ones and the bloody one in there. And I think it's 9:30. I see a turkey coming through, and I was it's like, oh shit, you can it's shoot a hen or shoot a tom, whatever. It's either sex in the fall. I was like, maybe I'll switch out to my bloody arrow, and I stand up and get ready to switch into a bloody arrow, and it's like, that turkey's already gone. It was 40 yards by that point, but I was like, you know what? Turkeys normally have other turkeys with them, not by themselves. So I looked behind the turkey, and there was no turkeys, but there was a buck following the turkey. He's like, what? It was that 4-pointer. There's a buck just literally following behind the turkey.
You can't get away from deer, my goodness.
It's just some funny, I've seen some unique shit this year.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. I saw my first bobcat a few nights ago.
Yeah, you were saying that.
Yeah, that was
All
the same.
the years, I mean, God, I've spent so many hours in the woods, and I've never seen a bobcat.
That's the same area where I saw the bobcat. So
Yeah,
probably a little
different
fam-
end. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. I tried to squeal him in too. He stopped and went around, but he didn't come in. And the weird thing is that right where he went into the swamp, 10 minutes later, a buck came out of the swamp. So it's funny because the next time I go over there, it was dark when I left, but I'm like, I gotta go check. I must have missed that. There must be a big entryway right there around this. It goes around this little island, this little boulder island kind of. I gotta check that out, but it's cool seeing him.
Look, I hate ticks. You hate ticks. I know you hate ticks. I know your parents hate ticks. I know your kids hate ticks. We all hate ticks. You know what I want to do to ticks? I want to kill them. You know how you do that? Sawyer permethrin. Not only repels ticks, keeps them off your clothes, but if they do happen to get on there, it'll kill them. They only have to go over 1.5 inches of your clothing that's been treated with Sawyer permethrin to die. What's better than that? Maybe killing a big buck, but this is a close second. These guys are an amazing company. They're U.S. based. They're family owned and operated. Look for the yellow bottle. You can find them in Cabela's, Bass Pro Shop, Dick's Sporting Goods, Moose Jaw, REI. Find them online. Whatever you got to do. Get Sawyer permethrin. It is not expensive. It'll save your life from these diseases that ticks carry. And it's a quick application. You spray it on your clothes, spray it on your hat, put it on your socks and shoes, put it on your backpack. Let it dry outside in the breeze, and it dries odorless. The deer are not going to pick you off from putting this stuff on your clothes. I guarantee you. Get Sawyer permethrin. You won't regret it.
Yeah. Going back to what you were saying, though, with you're still new to the area and you're learning with all the trail cameras and everything like that, that's huge because, I mean, those 2 bucks that I got this year, I had no cameras out there. I hadn't scouted. Everywhere where I did have cameras, I had deer that I'm like, all right, yeah, no basket, whatever. Nothing that really got me excited for the season.
Yep.
So I kind of gave up on those spots. I'm like, screw it, let's just go off what I know. So my other friend and I, we used to hunt where I shot that second buck in the reed area. We made our own ghillie suits.
Yep.
At 4 a.m, went out for 5:30, still smelling like shoe goo and hot goo, and we had just chasing all around us within 5 yards. He still has footage.
Wow.
We never got anything in there, but just kind of, you have the history of that spot now. And that's the same with where I got my first one.
Yep.
I left it alone because everybody and their brother hunts there, but they hunt the same area every time.
Yeah.
But I had a camera which had the deer in this area.
Yep.
They're there for a reason. They go back. So yeah, that's.
I learned a lot with my cameras this year, and I'm not gonna. I probably won't put out as many next year. I learned what I need to, and
that's the thing,
Yeah. And you know what? I like going into a spot and not knowing what's going to come,
right?
What's going to pop out. I do like that, and that's the way I've always hunted until.
But then again, trail cameras are awesome. It's just for these cell cams when you're miserable at work and you're like, all right, that gets me a little excited.
They're good and bad. I mean, you can talk about that until you're blue in the face. A lot of people say the same thing. They're good and bad. They can, I definitely have heard so many people say, I'm not getting anything in trail cameras. It's not a good spot. There's nothing there. But obviously,
they can just literally walk behind the tree that your trail camera's on.
Oh man, but they're all over the place around your cameras.
Yeah, and that's one thing I've learned. I used to be so caught up on cameras, everything, and then this year, I just stopped thinking.
Yeah,
it sounds crazy, but
don't overthink.
That's what it is. I overthought everything down to the wind and all that. Then I'm like, wait a minute, let's just start reading more into thermals and everything. Yeah, there's that dominant wind, but I mean, that ridge that I was sitting on, I knew that as the day was getting a little later in the day, that those thermals were going to start going down the ridge, and that buck could have picked up on the backyard scent that I was putting on, and I was high enough in the tree that I knew it was going to go over him. But it was just I didn't think. I just went in there because I beat myself up every single year. And
honestly, you can drive yourself crazy doing that, and it does negatively affect your hunt.
It's awful.
Yeah,
I'm one of those guys that I go online and I'm like, Jesus, this guy got another 150-inch deer, awesome. why can't I do anything?
But then maybe it
discouraged.
just clicks, Maybe you're on. I mean, you had 2 great bucks in a row, and now you might be getting 2 bucks like that every year.
Well,
now.
then again, I could never kill anything the rest of my life.
Yeah.
But it was the most exciting 3 days of hunting I've ever had, and I'll take that every day.
And now it's like, all right, I don't have to overthink it. It's like, all right, you know the basics, you know the area you want to get into. Definitely pay attention to the wind.
Right. Like I've scouted enough woods around the area that like I know historically where deer like to go. And hopefully now I'll continue with this mindset and continue to have success with it.
And definitely having, hunting out of that saddle now, like that's all you hunt out of. That makes telling you, this is my first season in the saddle, and I love it. I'm telling you, we could do a whole podcast maybe in the winter on saddle hunting.
I need to get one.
Yeah, it is awesome. I love it.
I wouldn't have had the problem that I did, which I can talk about real quick, was what I was telling you guys before we started recording. This really big 9-pointer that I showed the butcher, and again, he said he's got tons of 150s on the wall. He's like, oh, that's a 150. That's a beautiful deer. And he's just like, would be the deer of a lifetime for me. And I only had him on cameras, October 20th, I think was the last time I had that buck on camera. And it's funny also, before this year, I'd never killed a buck that I had on camera. This is the first one I've ever killed. So the cameras didn't really help me, the last 5 years. So 2 days after I've killed my 9-pointer, I remember Kevin and I were texting too, because he was like, I can't believe it's 2 pats, 9-pointers within 16 hours. Then he texted me, you got another one. I was like, you know what that means? I'm going to shoot an 8-pointer now within 16. I was going to do the same thing. And I mean, this day it would have actually,
Can you imagine?
The stars were kind of aligning for it, and I messed up. So, and this talks about the cell cameras too. Like they can be good and bad, but this is a time where this actually should have worked out in my favor. I'm sitting in my stand, the coldest day of the year. Again, I'm there 20 minutes before shooting light, and I'm getting ready. And a 6:04, I get a cell cam picture texted to me. It's the only cell cam I have in this whole piece, and it's 200 yards away. I had just moved it like the week before, and I found a new entrance into this swamp. I was like, oh, this looks like a real nice like main entrance. I want to put it up here, see what comes through. The whole week I had it there. I had does going in and out of there. Never seen a buck. But I'm sitting in the stand that morning at 6:04. I get a picture texted, and it's that 150 9-pointer. And it's 10 minutes from shooting light at that point, and he's 200 yards away. And he's directly behind me because I'm out facing the hardwoods, the swamp to my back. And I was like, holy shit, that's kind of cool. That's the first time I'd been hunting in a spot, and the cell cam actually is like, all right, I know there's a big buck behind me.
Yep.
That'll get you adrenaline going. Warm you up.
But again, like I was just an idiot. It was just a rookie mistake. My buddy Mark, I told about this later. He's like, oh, rookie mistake. He was there. I should have either turned my climber all the way around, tried to be quiet, and turned it around so I was facing that way. But what I did was I got up, I turned around, I sat on the arm of my climber, so I got the tree. Like if I was in a saddle, I would have had the perfect, I would have been already facing that way.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I just got sick of sitting on that thing. It was freezing. My ass was hurting a little bit. And I'm like, all right, that buck, I don't know, he's probably went the other way when he got out of the swamp. He's not coming this way. And anyway, it's super quiet and the leaves are crunchy as hell, and I'll be able to hear him from 100 yards away if he's going to come up, and I'll get up quietly and turn around. So I just let my guard down. I should have stayed facing that way, because I think it must have been 10 minutes after I sat back down into the comfort of my freaking climber, which is very, very comfortable. And I had my hands in my muff with my hand warmers, and I was just so super nice and comfortable. And I hear the crunching behind me. But I told myself it was a squirrel, another stupid rookie mistake, because there were squirrels all over the place. And then I was like, you know what? It's about time I like slowly turn around and see what the hell that crunching is. And I turned around, and it was a tiny, tiny doe, just a real tiny doe. But she was kind of like low to the ground, looking up, like looking right at me almost as I turned around. And I don't know what it was, if it was the thermals, because it was a weird morning where it was still getting colder until like 7 a.m. So at this point, it was like 7 a.m. And I think maybe my thermals were dropping down. She was getting a little bit of that, or maybe she silhouetted me. But she wasn't super spooked. She was just coming in cautiously, kind of stomping her foot a little bit, very slowly. And I was turned all the way around to where I couldn't really turn anymore. You know, your neck is craned all the way, and you can't go any more than that. But I was like, I really want to see what's behind her, but I couldn't. But my eye was just barely able to get to the end. I was like, holy shit, it's that buck. Like, that buck is right on her.
Yep.
And he was just staying 10 yards behind her and letting her come in and assess the situation. And he could tell she was on edge, so he was just hanging back. And so I'm sitting there, and I even said to out loud, I was like, fuck, why wasn't I facing that way?
Right.
Why wasn't I? Because now I'm like, she's got me pegged, and I can't stand up and move, and he's right behind her. I can't turn around. I can't get ready for any shot. My bow's hanging right here. And she took a nervous bound backwards and started kind of circling around to where if she did get there, the tree was going to block me and I was going to be able to get up and turn around. But they got behind a cluster of trees because she took a nervous bound back and then got behind a cluster, and it looked like for a second she was going to lead him right to where I shot that 9-pointer 2 days earlier and that scrape. They were headed kind of that direction, and I was like, all right, this might work out. They get behind a few trees, I get up slowly and turn around, and they don't hear it, they don't see it. They were behind the trees. It was perfect. It was fine. They stayed behind the trees for a little while, and had my bow in my hand and everything. And then they took 2 more nervous bounds backwards, never blowing or anything though. It was just kind of like, all right, there's something up. And so they get a little bit further away, and then they stay there for a long time, and then tails go up, but no blowing, and they just another couple bounds and down into the swamp. And as soon as they did that, a coyote came through, and I think at that point the coyote pushed them out. She was already, onto me for something.
Right.
But if I was turned around, I don't know what it was that she maybe whatever. Maybe it was just the smell, and she wasn't going to keep coming. But
you couldn't hear them coming though, huh?
No, not until she.
It's crazy how that is sometimes. Even when you think it's
very crunchy, and
you sound like a circus coming through in the morning, but they can just slip in.
I think it's because there were so many squirrels that morning, so there was like all that. And usually I'm good at like, all right, I know I've got all the squirrels into my memory now. I know how you kind of keep a mental note of how many there are, and you can tell if there's a different noise coming through. But I don't know. Trophy Ridge products are intelligently designed to give you a distinct advantage and be deadly accurate. The team at Trophy Ridge believes smart, hunt-inspired innovation should be at the foundation of each product's existence. You have enough to worry about on a hunt. Your gear should not be one of them. Trophy Ridge accessories give you the comfort of always knowing you're using the best bow hunting equipment when out in the woods or at the range. For information on the all-new 2021 lineup of Trophy Ridge sights, quivers, rests, releases, and stabilizers, visit trophyridge.com. Trophy Ridge, the tools bow hunters trust. Rookie move.
Crazy. Wow.
The saddle is...
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely worth the whole podcast. I mean, get some people that have used it. Every time I've used it a few times this year. Every time I've used it, so I used it twice today, this morning and tonight. Every time I sit in, I'm like, my God, I love this thing.
Kevin's sitting in a saddle right now.
Yeah.
But
well, I sit in it like this morning. I was telling my wife, I could have just stayed in here all day because of course it was warm out. It wasn't, it was a beautiful day, so that was part of it. But yeah, that's super comfortable. But the reason, and you can do this with a climber, obviously. I do not like climbers. I've tried so many. I don't feel this.
I had the bottom fall out on my
I could go on and on about why I don't like climbers, but the reason that you shot 2 of your bucks is the reason that I wanted to get a saddle or try to get into it and hope that it would work, which it did.
Yeah.
And that's where all of a sudden I just want to go to this one spot. I haven't been here in years, or I've never been there, and I don't have a stand. I don't want to go in and hang a stand, boom. Basically what you can do with the climber, but it's a lot different with the saddle. I mean...
Yeah, both of those deer, I can honestly say I wouldn't been able to kill if I wasn't in a saddle.
Really?
The first one that came in, he was coming up the ridge, but he was staying behind the scrub brush and everything, and then there was a little split Y in 2 young trees there, and I was fully hung back on this thing, and I had to... I can't really explain it. I had to lean back enough that I mean, even if I had a harness and a hang-on, I just couldn't get out to that point. And then even the second one, like I said, he came in on my right. I'm a lefty, so I was facing where he came from, had my bow on the right. He comes in and then immediately just hops over, and he's hanging out down there. And when I shot him, I had my back to the tree, leaning all the way forward. It's one of those things that I, with all the trees around, I had to kind of slip it in that one area.
Yeah.
And it's just honestly the headache goes away of wondering what tree you can get into.
That's true.
I've set up hang-ons in trees that I'm facing the ground. And I mean, realistically, how long are you going to sit there before you're like, this is ridiculous? 2 hours. Now in this thing, I mean, as long as you can get the sticks around, you're golden.
So do you have any other stands? Do you still have any hang-ons that you'll put somewhere?
So I wish I did.
Yeah.
I'm not the brightest bulb in the chandelier, and I jumped the gun. The saddle came in the mail, and hang-ons went out, sold them.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, oh, well, it would be nice because, there's some days where you just don't want to. You just want to walk out and go up the tree.
Well, I think what I'm going to probably do now that I've got a season using it is I'm probably going to, except for one spot that I've had a stand forever, but I think I'm just going to have sticks in areas. So if I do have some set areas, which is a lot of guys do, they just have just the same thing. You'd have your sticks set up, but you go up in the saddle just because it's so comfortable, and you are having that tree, being able to move around that tree and keep it between you and the deer is huge. So
yeah,
it's huge.
And the comfort level is just.
I mean, I had some does the other night that came in on me, and they came right onto me. They came all around me, and the whole time I'm dancing around the tree.
Yep.
And I was keeping the tree behind. One time they were trying to look, and they didn't. They never ever saw me.
So can you go pretty much 360 around the tree?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Even though your platform stays on one side.
Yeah. So, I didn't do it with these ones, but I use the Wild Edge. So I use hawk sticks to get up, and then I have the Wild Edge steps. I have a 5-pack of those with the perch.
Mm-hmm.
That's his platform that kind of wedges into the step. But there's been times where I've just brought in a couple of extra of the steps and put them on either side of that, so I can get that leverage and push off around. Haven't had to, but it's always that option that you have. They need to invent the 360 platform.
I think what you can do is what I was gonna. I mean, the setup that I have now, I have a platform built into my sticks. It's basically a DIY thing that I made, and it works awesome. But
you have a video of that.
Yeah, and it works great. It's been working awesome for me. But if you're using a regular platform that you attach separately, you can keep your sticks on one side of the tree and the platform on the other side of the tree if you wanted to, or kind of offset it a little bit. And you can literally put one foot on one and one on the other, and you can dance all around. But even with just a platform, you can, as long as the tree isn't leaning too bad, you can move right around that tree. It's pretty cool.
And you can get on some small trees, right? Even you're a big guy, but can't you get on like a? Yeah.
So there was one time, actually, beginning of the year, it was like October. I set up, so in between the highway, right off the highway, there was this cedar swamp, and I set up in realistically the one tree, kind of on the edge of it that I could have, and that thing was 6 inches around maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can get up in the realistically any tree. I just like having something a little bigger because
And how much lighter is it really than carrying a climber?
Personally, like I said, I used a climber once that was in a tree, that was left wrapped around the tree that my buddy let me use, and I started doing my climbing, and the bottom fell out when I was like 4 feet off the ground. I'm like, nope, not doing it.
I mean, it's lighter. I mean, I've had a few different climbers. Obviously, the saddle obviously is lighter because you can wear it in. I mean, you basically wear it in. It's like having nothing on. Yeah. That's nothing. But you have to bring your sticks in. So basically, you really comparing your sticks to a climber and what's lighter. And you can. There's so many out right now. I mean, between saddle, tethered, and lone wolf, there's a whole bunch of that have this whole market on light sticks. So. Yeah. You definitely can spend some money and get real light sticks. Even my sticks are older muddy sticks with the platform, it's still a lot lighter than because I think like my Summit stand, I want to say like most of those stands are around 20 pounds, right?
Yeah.
Obviously the Lone Wolf one is, I believe, is pretty light, but I think my sticks and the whole thing is about 9 to 10 pounds.
Yeah, that's nice, and it packs right up
Pack
nicely.
right in your backpack, doesn't
Yeah.
stick out as much.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's pros and cons. I mean, I read the guys that say they don't want to deal with ropes and stuff, but I'll be honest with you. I mean, I'm gonna do a whole thing on my YouTube page after using the saddle for 1 year, and it just for me. I mean, yeah, I'm a small guy and still somewhat athletic, but I thought the learning curve was really small.
Yeah.
That's good.
I mean, I haven't shot a deer out of it, but I've shot out of it. I'm pretty much.
And filming out of
just
it,
need
I
the
mean, you
deer
got
there.
two good film, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
filming out of it.
It's nice doing that, right?
Even with a camera, I think it's easier. And I think Dan Jaros said this to me, that you're going to find it's easier filming. I think it was him. Someone told
he
me
puts
that.
like right between his
Yeah, he
legs
said
there.
that he thought it was easier filming out of a saddle than out of a tree stand, and he's right. It is. And I'm not going to get into explaining why, but it is easier.
Yeah.
But it's lighter and less bulkier, but there's different.
I'd say I'd be willing to bet that they're safer.
I definitely feel safer in them.
I saw a video when I first got the saddle. I saw a video online. The guy was hanging upside down. It's like, you will not fall out of it. So, dumb Pollock. I went outside and did it. Didn't fall out of it.
Yeah, no, they're really safe.
But I mean, you are secure to that. Obviously, the biggest learning curve is once you get to that 20, 25 foot mark in the tree hanging off. Then you look and, the bridge is just like
Yeah.
this rope that's a 1/4 inch thick. You're like, oh, Jesus.
Mentally, it might. I've kind of got past that now,
Yeah.
I think, because that got to me.
I'm still not past it because
well.
I'm a bigger dude, so I'll run my my lineman belt back through my carabiner, so I just kind of have the dual bridge, kind of like a fallback. Completely unnecessary, but just kind of puts me at ease a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's a great tool. I mean, I know there's so many people that swear by their climbers, and that's great. I'm just glad that I kind of got into the saddle because I hate climbers. I've, like you said, never felt safe in them. I've used them. They're super comfortable. Just for me, just never liked them, even though a lot of people do. I mean, a lot of guys hunt out of a climber.
And then how many trees have you wanted? Like, oh, that's the perfect tree. But every 2 feet, there's a branch coming out or a limb.
That's obviously one of the biggest.
You get your sticks between it, and you're golden. I mean, and then honestly, there's been trees where you use the branch as your platform.
How do you get your rope around the
tether?
Yeah, like around. Well, isn't it like a lineman's belt going up, and you got a limb there? How do you?
So I'll be honest, I should. I don't use my lineman belt all that often, unless it's a super sketchy tree. But if it's just a tree with a bunch of limbs, I'll kind of just hold on to those, climb my way up, and then connect the tether when I get to the top.
Okay.
Yeah, but even with the lineman belt, like
take it off and go around real quick. Yeah.
That's it. Just unsnap it off the loops and just go around it. I honestly, I haven't even really. I think I've only hunted one tree with a lot of branches. I've been pretty much every time I've gone in, I've just looked for a cluster of 2 or 3 trees next to each other and go up like that.
Do you guys bring any pruning devices with you? Like
I always
when you
have a
get
saw in my. I always have a saw in my backpack.
How long? Like, because I'll be like, damn, there's I can't reach that one.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. I've always meant to and never learned to.
Yeah, and so that's like the spot that him and I went to, the new spot that I started hunting this year. When I got up, I hung that stand and everything, and then when I actually hunted it after hanging it, I realized, oh wow, there are a lot of whippy branches around, and so I think I'll be moving it for next year. Once the season's over, I'll be in there moving it. But yeah, I mean, pole saw. It'd be nice to have a pole saw you could fit inside your backpack.
Right, that really extends
20 feet.
Yeah. All right, are you going hunting tomorrow or?
I am. Yeah, I will be going. I'm pretty burnt out. I will say. I've been off this whole week, most of last week. I'm burnt out, but I am going in the morning.
Yeah, I've been pretty burnt out too, and so I don't think I'm going to go in the morning. Maybe in the afternoon. I got to get my climber out of there. It's still hanging in there. So maybe go for an hour or two. And
next week's not looking too good for weather, but I got a couple days here and there I can take next week as well. Still debating whether going to Vermont next weekend. Depends what the rest of the crew does, but I'm planning on it.
Can't go up there. The governor says you can't.
Oh, yeah, that's right. We can't go anywhere now.
I went up last weekend. It's like you have to.
Yeah.
It was opening weekend of Vermont. Saw 10 deer. It's a lot for a Vermont weekend.
Wow.
Nothing
That's
says
10 more than I
isolation like
saw.
Vermont woods. Like you're gonna be all right.
Yeah.
You're quarantined
Exactly.
in the woods.
Yeah.
I know. We never left the camp.
Yeah.
We didn't, except to
Yeah.
go into the woods.
Yep.
It was funny because the neighbor that lives up there came and he always comes over and chats and talks, and he left us a big care package of leftover stuff from the bakery or whatever somebody works, and didn't see him. He just left it on the front stoop.
Yep. Well, all right. That was fun. So you said you might go hunting. You still got a doe tag or what?
So I have a doe tag. I'm gonna hold on to that one. But
You're also hunting Connecticut.
yeah,
right?
I live in Connecticut.
Oh,
but
I didn't know you lived in Connecticut.
yeah,
Not too far from Connecticut, I guess.
yeah. It's just Connecticut's weird. So right now it's rifle season.
Yeah.
You can't hunt public land with a bow during rifle season. You have to use
Oh yeah.
the weapon, of that season.
Kyle was telling me that.
But I might be meeting with a guy tomorrow. He's a hunter as well, but he's not really out there all frequently. He has like 80 acres that, fingers crossed things go well and I, get permission on there, because there's the thing, you can hunt Sundays with a bow on private property in Connecticut, so that's
It's just
awesome.
a weird laws.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I really wish you could hunt Sundays here.
Yeah.
I don't think that day is gonna happen while we're alive.
No, I'm not, definitely not.
Yeah.
But hopefully can get one more down. We still got a lot of season left.
Yeah.
Still a month and a half left.
Yes, I was kind of heartbroken on
Yeah.
Wednesday. 'Cause
I feel bad for you. Let me tell you, I feel awful.
and that's the thing, like, nothing was on my cameras, and then I sent you that from the one I got from my spy point this morning, and the guy that owns that property that I used to hunt, he's like, yeah, I had 2 bucks locked up. I'm like, well, my season's done, but thanks.
It does seem like I've been hearing the last few days from people that are starting to see mature. But I mean, obviously every area is different, but it does seem like around here I've been seeing people talking about bucks, big bucks.
Yeah.
Starting to announce. Like you just saw that one on
Seen-
Daylight. Haven't
yep.
seen him since October.
Yep.
I know last night my cousin had a big, huge one that he missed, and hopefully I'll see one tomorrow morning.
But they're going to be getting into like lockdown this one I'm pretty sure is locked down right now for a couple of days where they're in the swamp, but then, he'll move on and look for another one.
Yeah.
But
I'm sure you'll be sending me a picture of him tomorrow.
we'll see if I even get in the woods. But yeah, let's wrap this up and share some of these pictures we're getting real quick.
Sounds good.
Thanks
All right.
for jumping on, Pat.
Thanks for having me on, guys.
Kevin,
Appreciate
thanks
it.
a lot, buddy.
Yep. Thanks again.
Thanks for listening to the Hunt Suburbia podcast. We hope you enjoyed it. We're going to release an episode every single Sunday throughout the season, throughout the entire year, and we will possibly be releasing some bonus episodes here and there throughout the week as people, come in freshly off a bow kill and tell their stories. We hope that happens throughout the season. There might be weeks where you get 2 or 3 bonus episodes. You might not get one for a couple of weeks, but there will be some bonus episodes. But you can count on us every single Sunday to have a new interview on throughout the season. Once again, thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next week. Big bucks I've been dreaming often, every night till I'm in a coffin. Vermont woods to the burbs of Boston, I'm looking for a tree to get lost in. Crisp mornings, little dust in the snow. Quality time, just me and my bow. Fall evenings, I know just where to go for some quality times for me and my bow. It's just me and my